use at home. So I guess just starting out, brief background, as Aubrey was just saying, a lot of native plants in the range have been used for many centuries for food, medicine, and other purposes. And even though some of them aren't very abundant anymore, there's still things we can use for different reasons. The plants up here are the ones I'm going to talk about today. For native grasses and forests, we have sweetgrass and white sage. And I have a whole list of trees and shrubs, and the ones with the N behind are native, and the ones with the I are, they've been introduced, but they're widely used here yet in North Dakota. So if you guys have any questions along the way, just feel free to raise your hand and stop me, and try and answer them as best as I can. So starting out, first, sweetgrass. Many of you are probably pretty familiar with this. You can see the braids, the baskets. Traditional uses include incense, quite often burned and used in ceremonies. It can also be used in hair wash, tea, perfumes. We've got, like I said, baskets and mats. Also can be chewed during fasts and used in pillow stuffings. Some more modern uses include flavorings in things like candy, vodka, tobacco, and perfume. And that's mostly in Europe. And the reason they use it for that is because a chemical called coumarin, and that gives it a vanilla-like aroma.
What's that grass called that you can chew it and it like makes your mouth numb and like you start slobbering all over?
Black Samson.
Is that what it's right? And it like tastes, it makes everything taste sour, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll make your mouth
like
water.
water. That's fun. That's really
Actually,
fun.
I think I have a picture of it right there. That one's the purple top one. It's probably the one you're referring to.
Yeah, it's like brown, right? Like that.
Yep. Once
And you
it
just
dries
chew on
up,
it?
You'll see it turn.
Why does it do that?
It just why it turns brown.
No, why does it make you? Why does it make you slobber?
It actually has a novocaine like compound in it in the
That's
root. It's pretty diluted, but I think that's how it was explained to me at one time. So yeah, it's pretty crazy stuff. A lot of the medicines that we use nowadays are probably derived from a native plant somehow, like aspirin from willow bark, things like that. You'll see a lot of the trees in here also have a lot of medicinal compounds in it. So, sweetgrass, I just go in about coumarin. That's also when you cut something like sweet clover, it gives it that smell, that vanilla sweet smell. Also has increases the blood flow and actually helps thin the blood. So it's just one use for it. Where we can get it, there's actually like white sage, sweetgrass, a lot of other native plants right over by the courthouse at the extension office where Sue Isbell, where she works at. And we actually get those from, with my agency, we have what's called the Plant Materials Center. And you can actually get like specimens or plantings. You can get so many plugs for trial sites of sweetgrass and white sage. So if anyone's interested in starting a plot, I can put in a request, and sometimes we can get, maybe 10 plants. But sweetgrass will spread like crazy. Once you get it established, it has like little things that go under the ground called rhizomes, and then they'll pop back up and start a new plant, and they'll just keep going. So it's a pretty aggressive plant. Next, white sage, again used for many things. Most commonly, when it's dried down, it's burned. They use it for smudging, ceremonial pieces like bracelets, different things like that. Headaches and arthritis, stomach ailments, respiratory, and also skin problems and sores and itching. Yep. Disinfectant, yep. So works good for a lot of things like that.
How does it work though?
I don't know what the chemical is that does it, but there's probably a lot of different things in it.
You could boil it and use the water and wipe your pounds and kills germs.
Yeah, because it smells strong.
Use it.
Yeah, because we have it on the side of our house that goes
We
by
used to
itself.
put it on kids who had bad acne. We boil the water, put the washcloth, put them on their face, take care of their acne.
I don't know the chemical, but it's probably, scientifically, probably some alkaloid in there that does it. I don't know the specific name of it.
Excuse me, is it illegal to harvest that from fields? I mean, there's no law against somebody going off picking it, using it for personal use?
I don't think white sage, not black Samson, there is. You have to be,
Right,
you can do it on your own.
Purple cornflower, you
Yes.
can't go out and harvest that.
Just because of like abundance, this stuff is kind of almost like sweetgrass too. You know, it might be a little hard to get going, but once it gets going, it just goes. So it's not like the coneflower is a little bit slower to regenerate. So I guess that kind of covers the forbs and grasses. Just going into the trees, I've got a handout there with some of the benefits of trees. We know that, you know, obviously they can protect us, shelter belt, shade, store carbon, also food and medicine in some of these as well. How to plant them, I also have a handout going around about that. Most important thing, I guess, to ask yourself, what do you want to do with them? What do you want them for shelter belt? Do you want them for shade? Do you want them for food or medicine? Kind of to decide what you want to do with them. Then you have to see what kind of soil you have present on site. And we do have soil surveys that'll tell you in the spot what kind of soil you have. Now, that's in electronic form as well, and I passed handouts around. It's called Web Soil Survey. So you can look up your soil. Other part of it, make sure you dig a large enough hole and to make sure the roots have room to grow, and also make sure the soil is firm so you don't have air pockets that'll dry the roots out and kill those roots. The other thing is water deep and on a regular basis. You don't want to water them a little bit every day. You want to water them maybe about once a week and heavily so the water goes through the soil and the roots follow it. You want to train those trees to get a deep root system so if it gets dry or they have stress, their roots are safe. So just going into trees, I've got some quick facts on each one, and I have a link. If I go to them in quick, it'll bring up a PDF document, and it's got pictures and all the information about it on back, including their uses, like wildlife use, medicinal use. And I have those handouts will be going around as well. So just for the sake of time, I'm not going to go through each one of them like that, but I'll just kind of go and do just a quick overview of each one. Buffalo berry, you'll see this one quite often. What's that?
They were really deficient, the buffalo berries.
Yeah.
There's lots of berries on our trees, but just.
Yeah, wildlife loves buffalo berries. It's a native tree. It looks, to me, it looks a lot like Russian olive. It's very similar, but it gets a different colored berry. So it's hardy, good wildlife food. Can use it in jam and jelly if you want to. It does get some branch canker, and the deer love it, even though it does have thorns. It can get about 6 to 14 feet tall. Mongolian cherry doesn't tolerate the drought as good. Used in jams and jellies. Has some. Oh, sorry.
Do you know what those? I don't know what kind of like berries or fruit it is, but if it's too ripe and the animals eat it, they get drunk off it.
Well, there's. I don't know what the ones are here. Yeah, they have to probably freeze first. That releases the sugar so it can ferment. Yeah. I don't know. I know there's one like a tree in Africa too. The same thing gets hot and it does crazy things to animals.
Yeah.
You know, they probably will to some of these trees if they still have fruit on it. Probably can happen. Things like grouse that eat them. Not really a lot of major insect pests known. A lot of these you'll keep noticing: deer, rabbits, mice. Love these trees, and I have one slide at the end that shows some ways to help prevent that. Not very tall, 3 to 6 feet. Man king cherry, very similar. Gets 6 to 10 feet. Can be short-lived. Can be used in wine, syrup, jam, and jelly. So there's a lot of different things you can do, but those are the most common uses. It will tolerate some wind and drought. Again, good wildlife food. And most of these are the wildlife don't eat them, they probably use them for shelter or for nesting. Choke cherry, this is a really common one around here. You'll see this one a lot of different places. Pretty good drought tolerance, pretty hardy. The more sun you give it, the better for fruit. It's probably why we've had such a good year for a lot of these things. Again, can be used in jelly and wine, and more susceptible to disease. And even though these things can be susceptible to different things, it doesn't necessarily mean it'll kill the plant, but it might make them kind of look ugly or set them back. So, gets a little bit taller. Cranberry bush, this one, it needs pretty good soil. Needs well-drained, pretty wet soil to grow. Birds like it. Has a lot of medicinal uses too. And the fruit can also be dried to use to make ink. And a lot of these have some pretty crazy medicinal uses to them. This one, some are used as nerve sedatives, anti-spasmodic for asthma, cramps, heart disease, rheumatism. Some of these are even used for cancer research, antibiotics, things like that. So a lot of neat stuff can come from these. Golden currant, good roosting for birds. It's a shorter tree. It can be used raw, or it's also used in pemmican with meat, and they dried it. And so like I said, shorter shrub. Juneberry, another common one around here. You guys have probably seen quite a bit of. Very good for wildlife food. Has medicinal use and is also used for making arrow shafts. And the food can be processed into a lot of different things. Plum, this is another one, a little bit bigger tree. Gets 8 to 10 feet tall. And used in jellies, things like that, and also skin abrasions. Sand cherry, that's the medicinal use, kind of neat about that, can be used for coughs, colds, antibiotic, and cancer research. Fruit can be dried or made into jelly, and it doesn't get very tall, 3 to 6 feet. Riverbank grape, we have some literature around here. It's actually more of a vine. It likes wet areas. It likes to crawl up. Natively, it's crawled up like trees, but you can put it on a trellis. Really common for wine making and jam and jelly. Wild strawberry, this is one. I don't know as much about these. I'm just doing a little research on them though. It says don't confuse them with wood strawberry that has yellow petals. It says it can be poisonous. Now I don't know if somebody knows more about that than me, but you'll probably find them around here growing in like other brush and trees in low areas and draws. These next trees are going to be introduced, just your typical fruit trees. They're not native to here, but they have a lot of uses, pretty healthy. Apple tree, everybody knows that. One thing, applewood is used, you probably heard of applewood smoked bacon. Apple is used a lot for smoking and curing meat. Gets 15 to 25 feet tall, some really, really strong branches. Apricot gets about 10 to 15 feet, a little more drought tolerance. And a lot of these trees, deer and mice and rabbits just love them, especially in the winter time, especially apples and plums. Here's another chokecherry. It's more like almost like a tree type chokecherry. It's introduced. Most of these introduced ones came from like northern Asia, parts of China. Gets 15 to 25 feet tall. Again, medicinal use in cancer research and an antibiotic. Crab apple, there's several kinds, flowering and Siberian crab. Not as much for human use, you can use them, but they're excellent for wildlife. And they are susceptible to certain kinds of disease. Pear, another introduced one. They can be very tough on these trees, they actually kill them. So there's some things that are used to help, I guess, offset that. The first one over here is 2-Bex, and just a tube you put around it and it locks so they can't get to it and chew on the bark. And this other thing is called plant skin. It's actually, it's an organic product. It's actually like a dried blood meal. It doesn't smell very good, but you spray it on the leaves and it keeps the deer and things like that away at least for a while. You might have to reapply a few times, but it's supposed to work good for that. So anyway, these are just some helpful links and information. If you look NRCS, the 3 offices under the Fort Yates one, we can get all these trees, the soil conservation districts, all the trees that you see in the presentation, we can get all that stuff. And now would be a good time to order it. And you can order it now and they're available for pickup usually late April or early May for planting. And these other links where I was getting these pictures from about each of the trees, that's that first link. It's the electronic version of the North Dakota Tree Handbook. Very good resource, and just some other resources if you need. A lot of the things I got for this presentation came directly off of them. So, anybody have any questions or comments or anything else you'd like to say?
Where do you find that stuff that you don't supposed to chew about?
Usually hilltops.
See?
Usually
Could you find it in here?
gravel, sand hills, or the side slopes.
Where at around here could you find it?
Probably some right up on that hill.